On Sunday, December 27th, Hello Beautiful presents Shannon Ayers Speaks with the beautiful Dr. Maricia Sherman. Maricia is an impactful counselor, a best-selling author, a sought-after international speaker, a nurse, and a successful entrepreneur. Hello Beautiful is excited to meet the beautiful Dr. Maricia Sherman.
We want to welcome Dr. Maricia Sherman to Hello Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. It's an honor.
It is an honor to have you here. I met Dr. Sherman, which I call her Maricia because she's my sister girlfriend, and we just had that connection from the first time we met just a few years ago at the I'm Worth the Wait retreat. And it has just been I'll use her word, a groove-tastic connection ever since then. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just so glad to have you.
Thank you so much. And you are correct. You are my groove-tastic sister.
Now, tell us where groove-tastic comes from, because we know you get your groove on, but not in the sense that most people will think. Tell us what the groove is.
Absolutely. So the word groove is an urban word. Of course, we know that means several different things. But for us in the kingdom, I like to say that your groove is your gift, your talent, your ability, that great thing that God has given you to do, that thing that we want to stir up in the inside. So whenever I say you're groove-tastic, I'm talking about you are the bomb with your gifts for God. You're the bomb with your talents, and you showing up the bomb with your abilities to go out there and change the world. So that's where that word came from, girl. You are so groove-tastic.
I absolutely love it. And I tell you, that same fire and energy, that's how I met you, and you are still the same this many years later. This is why I love you, and I love your spirit, and so glad to have you on the Hello Beautiful platform.
Thank you so much.
You are quite welcome. Now, I want to kick us off with one of your quotes. Only when we can smile at the man in the mirror can we sincerely smile at the man on the street. What does that mean?
You would start with that one, Shannon. So that quote is so personal. That quote came from a time in my life where I was smiling at the man on the street, or the woman at the street, the child on the street, but I wasn't truly happy inside. It wasn't very sincere. It looked sincere. It looked awesome. It looked amazing, but in the inside, I was not smiling at all. It wasn't very sincere. And so it came from a very personal place where I realized that only when I am sincere with myself, only when I am true to myself, can I really begin to respect the other person in the right way without being pretentious with them, without pretending, without casting an untrue shadow, on it. And so it just became really personal to me that only when I am true to myself can I help somebody else, can I assist somebody else, can I be a true testimony to them in the way that God would have me to be. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And that's why I started with that, because, and we all do it, especially women, we walk around carrying stuff. And when we walk around carrying that stuff, we wear it. We wear it on our fake smile. We wear it in our eyes. We wear it in our posture. We wear it in our body language. How we interact with people day to day, even people that seem upbeat. And I thought that was so important, because especially around this time of the year, you have a lot of people that contemplate suicide.
Yes.
And one of the things that you hear when someone has actually followed through is, I never knew, or I didn't know that they were going through this. How many times have you ever really been depressed or going through something, but yet you're pumping everybody up, right?
I could count on my fingers and toes and still probably have some moments that I'm leaving out, Shannon, and that is because we get very good at pretense. We get very, very good at it. We almost get skillful, artful at pretending. The world around us teaches us to pretend. It teaches us to not be fully who we are. And what I mean by that is that it's saying be who you are, but we've got all of these things, like we're talking about being beautiful. We got all these things that tell us what beautiful is supposed to be. And it's a pretense, you know, you want to be cute in the inside as well. So we get really good at it. So I have probably been depressed more times than we can imagine, and nobody really knew.
Wow.
Nobody knew. Yeah.
Wow. And that's huge. That's huge. Because like I said, especially around this time of the year, and as women, and you know, you're also a nurse.
Yes.
And so you really know, even from a health perspective, with women, with hormones and all of these different things that are going on naturally with us as women, and then add on life stuff.
Yes. And so women, we are receivers, Shannon. We receive in, you know, God designed us to be receivers. So we intuitively receive in a lot that we don't process right. We don't prioritize it. And so it kind of stays inside of us all jumbled up. And when things are added onto that, it just becomes this big stack of mass confusion and mass, I call it mass combustible, because it's just going to explode any minute, and stuff is just going to splatter everywhere.
And that's exactly what typically happens. And that kind of leads me to another one of your quotes that I found. And this kind of leads into pretty much what we're talking about. Discovered treasure is always classified as valuable, yet when it is hidden, its value was the same. Know your worth.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell us what that means.
Absolutely. It means, let's just think about it. If there's a gold and it's hidden, you know, and then they go and they find this gold and they say, oh, it's worth so much. It was worth that even when it was covered with all the dirt. It just was hidden. It never lost its value. It just had a lot of stuff covering it, a lot of dirt, a lot of weeds, you know, everything that was hiding it from exposure. So it never lost its value. For us, we got to know that what God has placed inside of us is so valuable. And even though things may be piling on top of it, divorce, you lost your job, depression, like you're talking about, suicidal thoughts and ideations, all kinds of baggage, all kinds of things, but you're still so valuable, right? Underneath all of that, you're still valuable. You're still a treasure. You're still everything that God has created you to be. And therefore, it never loses its value. Hidden, exposed, you're still the same. Whether you've got 2 people who are in your circle or 2 million, you're still so valuable. You're still the same. We lose valuable when we think about quantity instead of quality.
Yes.
So know your worth. Know your worth. Know your worth. Whether there is not a whole lot of quantity around you, your circle may be small. In your setting, you know, it may be small. If you are an entrepreneur, your worth may be small in the eyes of others, but to you, the quality of what you're doing is so valuable. Your dream is so valuable. Know it and own it.
Yes. And I always find a way to do a shameless plug of what Hello Beautiful is all about. And, you know, we encourage women and girls to understand their beauty by design and know their worth.
Know it.
Yes.
Know it. And it doesn't change. It doesn't change.
Absolutely.
No, it doesn't change. We change. We change, but your value, what you are worth, is priceless.
Because of how we were designed, and it was already ordained to be so.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so I got one last quote that I thought was just absolutely awesome. I can only be myself. Everyone else is taken.
Yes. Okay. I can't take credit for that one. Okay. I can't take credit for that one. That one has been said in multiple ways, but it rings so true. I added just a little twist to it. But I can only be myself, Shannon, and that took years of trying to figure that out because I tried to be so many other things to so many other people. And it took a long time for me to realize I can only be me, and I can only give out what I have inside of me to give out. And it's so important that we know that every generation that the older generation lets the younger ones know you can only be you. And the great thing about it is that you being you is the bomb. Being you is so groovetastic that being you is what's going to help you move forward. All the answers and solutions and everything that you're looking for, all are connected to you being yourself.
So for those women that are trying to discover who they are, at what point in your life did the transition happen that you were able to step into knowing who you are and understanding your own value, your talents, your gifts? Because when we meet you on the surface, you're just this ball of energy, this ball of light, and you're encouraging everybody all over the place. Put her over here just for a second. What about that little girl?
Yes.
That wasn't that treasure was always there, but you had to step into that. Where was your transition?
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's first start with, everybody always says that you're such a ball of energy, and the truth of the matter is that I'm a homebody. And I'm usually very quiet, and nobody believes that. But it is so true.
Because people say the same thing about me. I can 100% relate.
Yes, it is so true. But then secondly, I'm going to tell you where this transition happened. You brought up, what about that little girl, and to put Miss Her Groove and Groove Tastic to the side. And the little girl actually went through a lot of childhood trauma. So the little girl didn't even realize what value or that she was worth anything. And I'm always very transparent about my childhood trauma and what I went through. My mother was abused by my father for a span of at least 20 years. And growing up as a small girl in a home where you hear your mother screaming, you're awakened by screams every other night, is traumatizing. It taught me as a little girl, is that what I'm supposed to happen to me as a young woman? Is this something that is going to transpire for me as a young woman? So I didn't think myself very valuable. My father not only was physically abusive, but he denied us just the basic necessities of life. I did not have running water until I was 14 years old. This is in the late 80s, maybe mid 80s. I did not have the proper things that you would think are just necessities for someone growing up in that time span, in that dispensation of time. So no, I didn't feel very valuable. I didn't have a lot of great thoughts about myself. I remember as a little girl, I grew up in this little bitty trailer, as far south in Mississippi as you can get. And I wondered, does anybody see me? Does anybody know what's going on? Do people understand that when I go home, this is a very, very violent situation that I'm a part of? So it led me down a very misguided road. I made a lot of misguided decisions based on, I didn't know who I was, my perspective of who I was. I thought, okay, well, let me just please everybody because I don't want anybody angry at me. I saw the violence, and okay, they're doing that because they're mad. So it led me down this road where I didn't have any value for myself, and I didn't value what others would try to give me. So if anyone talked to me about love or trust, it was something that I never knew. And I never connected with it. My mother gave me everything that she had, and that was love. That's all she had to give. Literally, there was no eating out. There was no watching television. None of those things. I was treated, as far as my father is concerned, as women are low and beneath anything. We were low on the totem pole. And so it taught me, as you can imagine, a lot of things that were negatively pushed into my spirit. The transition for me happened after I got married very early on, as they would say, young and dumb. and for me, it was more of an escape route because I didn't know how to love. It was will this get me away from where I'm at? So it was more of an escape route. It was through that process of marriage, realized marriage and making a lot of misguided choices, that I found out, okay, this isn't working. This is digging a hole deeper than I could imagine. And then I started having the thoughts that we discussed earlier. I started thinking about, well, maybe I should just leave Earth. Maybe I should just go away. And I started thinking about having, committing suicide. I thought about giving my girls to my mom. I was a mother by that time. And so the big kicker for me, Shannon, where that road I was going like this, and then it took that right turn, was I was in New York City, and I left a relationship in the middle of the night, about 2 a.m. I packed my daughter's clothes and some trash bags. I had no gas money. I'm in New York City. That's a long way from Mississippi to get to my mother. And at that time, we didn't have cell phones. I remember I went to a payphone, and I called a cousin of mine and I asked for $200 for gas to get home. And at the time it was raining. I ran to the payphone, leaving my girls in the van, and then I ran back and I fell on the way and skid my knee because it was raining so hard. And when I got back in the car, Shannon, my oldest daughter said, "Mommy, why are we sitting in the parking lot?" Now, that doesn't mean a big deal to anybody else, but the key word in that, Shannon, was we.
Oh.
And I had to think, I have her and her baby sisters in my drama, sitting in a car, pouring down raining at 2 a.m. And I thought, if I don't transition, they're going to go down some of the same pathways I did, some of the same roads I went down, because she's trying to understand, if I'm so valuable and priceless, like mommy always tells me, why are we sitting in a Walmart parking lot at 2 a.m.? She had no understanding of what was going on. And she didn't say, she was about 8. Wow. Which puts her baby sisters at 4 and 2. And I remember I pulled between 2 tractor trailers and parked my van there. I'm bleeding. I'm soaking wet. I'm bleeding. And she asked me, "Mommy, why are we sitting in the parking lot?" And I looked at her and I thought, it wasn't just me in this parking lot. I now have them involved in my mess. And the very thing that I wanted to do was protect them, but I was opening so many doors in their life that was going to bring in things that I could have protected them from. So that key word that she said, we, spoke to my legacy, spoke to just these layers of these things that could have just ping-ponged off of that action that I was doing. And I said, I can't do this. I got to take the right. I gotta take the right off of the pathway that I'm on. And that began a transition for me of moving forward, moving from a place of immobility to mobility, moving forward, all because she asked me that one question. And I would dare to say, Shannon, that there are some questions that people have been asked, that you have been asked, that our audience right now, Hello Beautiful audience, has been asked, that were pivotal moments. If we would just really, really listen. And I think it coming from her little lips is what shook me.
Wow. That's huge. And I say that because at 8 years old, the oldest, the big girl, of the siblings, to be able to look at her mom, and I saw your beautiful daughters, and they all have your beautiful face. Beautiful daughters. And so I can only imagine what that was like for you as a mom, to look at your face.
Yes.
Asking you that question.
It shook me.
What did that feel like?
Oh, it shook me to my core. It shook me to my core. And that's where we go back to what we talked about earlier, the pretense. Mm-hmm. They saw me happy. They saw me being, and I would tell them, "Oh, you're this and you're that, and you can be whatever you want to be, and you can do this and you can do that." And here I have them sitting in a Walmart parking lot trying to flee from things that I couldn't fix, things that I had launched myself. I have them sitting in here with me, and she's thinking, okay, if I'm all that,
Wow.
Mommy, why are we sitting here? Like, what's going on? Why did you wake me in the middle of the night? And, why am I sitting here? And the thing with her being the oldest, we always teach them, you watch out for your baby sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So she's watching them and she's watching me. She's watching them and I'm running in the rain to get to a payphone and make a collect call, right? And she's like, what is going on? And it stopped me. And when I tell you, it shook me to the core. And I said, I can't have this. I can't have her going through this turbulent life the way that I did. It will cause the childhood trauma I was not trying to deal with, because as African Americans, it's very taboo that we have mental health wellness. And the childhood trauma that I had never had any therapy for, no sessions, never talked to anybody, because girl, don't tell what go in the house, go on in the house, right? So yes, I never shared it. You don't say what goes on in the house. You keep it all in. And here I was giving her something that she would have to keep all in if I didn't adjust my pathway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's stop right there for a moment, because what you just said is what we do.
Yeah.
We dump our stuff
Yes.
on our children inadvertently, not intended to.
Yes.
But sometimes we never pick it up.
We never pick it up.
They carry it, because chances are you're carrying your parents' stuff.
Yes.
Now, you have to get your own stuff on top of that. So you're carrying your parents' stuff, your stuff. Yes. And so now you're dumping their stuff and your stuff.
Oh. And the pile just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what we're discussing, Shannon, is generational patterns. Yes. We just keep creating these patterns and it keeps getting passed down and passed down. Where does it end? And for me, in that parking lot, I said, this ends with me. And I had a long journey ahead of me. It was not easy to get to where we're talking now. You said I'm Maricia, and we'll put the doctor hat back on later. But it was a long, long, long journey. But what I loved about it, Shannon, was she saw me take the journey. So now she says, I remember being in the parking lot, but I now see something different. Yeah. I had to let her see me make that transition. And I think a lot of times when we are going through our transitions, especially as mothers, we don't want our daughters to see us go through a lot of different things. We want to protect them. But sometimes, right? Yeah. Sometimes you got to say, baby, mommy made a mistake.
Yes.
And I want to show you that it has to be corrected, because Shannon, we talk to them and they hear us, but they watch what we do.
And they know the truth. They know the truth. They may not know the details.
Yes.
But they know the truth. They know
Absolutely.
Something isn't right. They know something doesn't feel right, like your daughter. But you know what? On the flip side, to your credit, in order for your daughter to ask, why are we here? That must mean that somewhere within your treasure, she knew we don't belong here.
Yes. Yes. She knew. I would say it like this, Shannon. She knew it was out of the ordinary for her lifestyle.
Yes.
I'm home, I'm protected, I'm in my bed at 2 a.m. Mommy has sang me to sleep. She's read me, a Bible story. Something's off. And she pulled my chain. She said, wait a minute. Ding, 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 ding. Something's off here. This is not supposed to be going on. And so it was challenging for me to say, okay, you're right, baby. Something is going on. But I was so in a zone of my own mess. That question, I had to blink. I had to go, okay, wait, she's right. What did I just do? And it's because I had let things go on for so long. I had lost sight of who I was, what I could be. I had lost sight of all of that. And I was doing I had irrational behavior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But it also does, and I bring this out because sometimes we look at some of the worst people in the world, some of the nastiest people or the
Yeah.
ugliest people. And it goes back to that quote of yours talking about that treasure and talking about that dirt. And I tell you what I know now that I've learned and still am learning, because I'm still on my journey, is when I look at people, I'm still learning how not to look at the surface stuff.
Yes.
And judge them accordingly.
Yes.
You know, and because we all are carrying something.
Absolutely.
We all are carrying something.
Absolutely.
And when the fact that it took your baby to point that out and for that to strike a chord in you, that has to speak to your destiny.
Oh, yes, it does. Oh my goodness. Oh, that one burning question, Mommy, why are we sitting in the parking lot? It just unraveled a whole list of questions. You know, why am I in the parking lot? It made me have to answer and go so far back to, why do I act like that? Why is that a trigger for me? Why do I respond that way? Why am I always running? Right? How come I don't know how to deal with confrontation? How come I go from 0 to 100 with my emotions so quickly? You know, how come I have this barrage of emotions going on all at the same time behind closed doors? You know, it just spawned a whole trough of questions that I had to start asking myself instead of acting like the things didn't happen. My behavior from I would go into a quiet, you know, if something happened and if I get frustrated, I would become really, really quiet because I didn't know how to respond without it being violent. Or I felt like love was some form of violence, you know. I can remember one particular time when my father he was physically abusing my mom. He was doing it right in front of me. By this time, I'm a little older, so I attempted to help her. I can remember we were in the kitchen and I attempted to help her and pull him off of her. And I remember, Shannon, at that very moment thinking, and this is going to be very deep, but I kid you not, I remember thinking when he goes to sleep, I am going to hurt him. You know, I remember thinking, I cannot take this anymore. And the best way I know to fix it is for him to be gone. It pushed me as a little girl. At that time, I was about 12. I can't take this anymore. I can't take the bullying at school because I'm so poor. I can't take the neighborhood knowing what's going on, but not challenging what's going on. I want somebody help us. So I had gotten to the point to where I said, okay, he's got to go. We've got to get out of here. And my mom at that time was doing the best that she knew how. She worked at a local hospital at the time. She would bring us home because we didn't have running water. She would bring us home those little basin things that you wash the patients in. That's what we would use the restroom in. And we'd go outside and we'd take this out to the woods. And I'm thinking, I was excited to be at school to sit on the toilet and flush it. I was excited to maybe spend the night if I had an opportunity over someone else's houses because I did get to take a shower there versus, you know, the bird bath type with the basins that we had. I was excited, you know, when I got out there. It's like, I don't have to knock on anybody's door and ask them for water. My mom would bring home milk jugs, and after we got through with the milk jugs, we would save those, and then we would have to go across the street or to someone's home and knock on the door and ask them, could we get some water from their hose outside? Do you know what that does to an individual as a child? You're trying to figure this out. You're like, oh, it's embarrassing. You're like, we don't want people to see us doing this. But
And this is not like 50, 60 years ago.
No, I was, when this ended and me and my mother finally, she finally had the courage and the strength to leave. I was like in 8th grade. I was almost in high school.
And I bring that out because you're relatively young. And when you hear when you hear about these type things, these are the types of stories you would hear from your grandmother.
Correct.
Your great grandmother, you know, and listening to these stories, people are going through it right now.
They are. Oh, Shannon, they are. I have the opportunity to speak to women of all ages, generations, and um, it touched it. It my heart. I can't get the words out right now. It just is so um, mind blowing that this is still going on, and it's so saddening that women are still going through traumatic situations such as what my mom experienced, and myself as a young girl going through it. I was never physically abused in a relationship, and I think that our common enemy is very smart. So he knew physical abuse I was not going to take, but the mental abuse was kind of crept in there, where my eyes were so focused on, I'm not going to let anybody hit me, but the hits were going to my mind, right? The control was going to my mind. And I didn't watch out for that so much because I was so focused on something else that I didn't realize this is also abuse.
Yes.
And so it's still going on so deeply in our world, and so many of our sisters are going through things that you can't imagine.
And that's
And that's
why
why platforms like what you have are so important. And it's so important. And I know people say, oh, we've got this talk show and that talk show and this podcast, but I'm telling you, it is so important that your platform that you have here, Shannon, is being used to speak such positive things, and that you're bringing on the caliber of people that you do, that will help and will spread the word, on multiple topics. So I applaud you for that. I know you did a shameless plug earlier, but I want you to know that your labor is not in vain. Your labor is not in vain, and that God doesn't forget your labor of love. He rewards us when we are desperately attempting to help someone else and to serve our community.
That's why I wanted to have you on here. One of the things that I talk about a lot, whether it's on the Hello Beautiful platform or just engaging other women, that little girl that witnessed abuse, that little girl that experienced poverty, that experienced less than, because I know I was that little girl too, and so tell us, when no one else was around and that little girl got to look in the mirror, what did she see?
Oh, wow. You know what? This is going to be funny, but I always knew that I was special somehow. Now I know that was yet God. I didn't know what that was at the time, but I would look in the mirror and I would think, first of all, I would feel a little jealous of the other little girls that were around me, and mostly for school. I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things, play outside or anything like that, but I still had to go to public school, and you know how children can be.
Yeah.
So I was a little jealous of the things. I would look in the mirror and I would think, why can't I have any of that? But for some reason, I always felt this assurance that God was with me. And I didn't know how to explain it. So I can remember looking in the mirror and I wanted to be a singer. So, karaoke was a big thing then. But I played a lot of pretend and pretending to be someone else. And I'd sing in the mirror, and I saw somebody that was special. And that's odd. It's odd that I was surrounded by violence, and my father was an alcoholic, which, just made it even worse. But I always knew, for some reason, I always knew, I know it was God. I know it was. I always knew that there was something special about me.
And that speaks volumes. And it also speaks to, and I would not be surprised if a lot of young girls that experience similar circumstances hear that voice that says you're special, but drown it out.
Yes. See, that was the second point I was going to add. always knew that there was something special. I didn't believe it, but I
Mhm.
just had a sense, like,
Yeah.
I just feel a little
But what's
bit.
in you is what's
Yeah, I
in
was
you.
like,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. I just have this uncanny feeling and notion that, that I feel loved somehow, but I didn't believe that I had anything to give. It wasn't until I got ready my mother and I we leave, and I spent my high school years with just my mom and I do have two older brothers. They're much older than I, so they were already gone. But I remember when I left to go to my first year of college, and I said to my mother that I said, Mom, if God ever gives me a voice, to share, I'm going to share your story through me. I'm going to share our story through me. If he ever gives me an opportunity to build something and to help somebody else, I don't ever want to see another woman endure what you had to do. And I'm going to use my every breath, until God takes me. And I remember having this conversation with her to tell her that, you may not have the strength right now and you may not have the courage, but I'll be that for you. And I was about 17 at the time, and then I went on this pathway. You know how we do.
Yeah.
I went on this pathway. But then when I took that right off of that negative pathway that I was on for my life, and my daughter asked that burning question, I remembered that conversation I had with my mom. And I remembered it, and I set myself on a pathway to share her story and to share it from a place of transparency,
Mhm.
and to be vulnerable so that people, can be served from, genuine care and concern, and to let them know that, the groove never stops. So I always say this, either we can get busy grooving in doubt, or we can get busy dominating the way God has called us to do. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
powerful. So
Yes.
did your mom get to see you slowly transition?
Oh my goodness, yes. When I started her groove, my mom and my girls were my team. my girl, my girls will tell you, I woke them up at 5 and 6 in the morning. We be setting out chairs. I'm telling you, you just get busy trying to dominate. I was having her groove seminars in Panera Breads. I kid you not. I was I was having I was having him in little anybody that would give me a table and some chairs, right? My mom went through that process with me. Even let's go even further back. You mentioned that I was a nurse. When I entered into nursing school, I didn't have the first spoon. I didn't have anything. My mom, we wrapped pennies. I don't know if they do that nowadays. You get the little paper things, stick the pennies in there.
Yes.
We wrapped pennies for gas money to get me to class. She has watched every step, every process from the transition to arriving on her doorstep with 3 girls to LPN, RN, ministry, right? Ministry degrees now to, hey mom, I'm gonna launch her groove, and we're gonna build this, this great thing for women to know their value, to licensed ordained minister, to, she's been right there, and she's always so like, I'm doing my groove, right?
Wow. No, I mean,
Right there.
that's beautiful. I mean, because your mom, I'm sure, was still carrying her stuff,
Yes.
but got to in a way kind of live through you, possibly her own healing and her
Yes.
own transition into
Yes.
her own groove,
Mm-hmm.
watching the fruit of her loins.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And I think if she were here, she would word it just the way that you did. She always says that she said, I'm so glad you're doing this because a lot of older women need their groove too, baby.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
so she's
Mom
always
is
with
right.
me.
Yes.
She was with me at the retreat. Yeah, where you and I met.
That's
She
right.
was. She's always with
That's
me.
right.
Sharing, wisdom, having a ball, just wearing her Groove-tastic t-shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is, to me, that speaks to legacy. It speaks to
Yes.
being
And
able
that was the
to,
theme that year, as a matter of fact.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah. It speaks to being able to touch generations, being able to touch the one before you, one after you, being present. It just speaks to so many different things
Yes.
that we want to make sure that we heal so we can touch somebody else, whether that was somebody in your past or somebody God's going to bring in your pathway. But being whole, happy, and healed,
Yes.
girl, that's a Groove-tastic combo right there.
Yeah.
Whole, happy, and healed.
Whole, happy. Look, that's another whole segment. Wait a minute. No, I mean that's beautiful, and this is why I do this. I wanted people to hear, and this is only just a little piece of your story. Tell us some of the fantastic. Well, first of all, before I tell you to tell us some of the fantastic things that you're doing, drop the rock, intensify your groove. New woman.
Yes.
Her prayers, inspiration for women who choose to believe.
Yes.
And if they haven't figured it out yet, these are the fantastic works of Dr. Maricia Sherman, your wonderful books, and your bestseller, The Groove Never Stops, Stories of Intense Determination,
Yes.
Volume 1.
Yes.
Yes.
Ain't God good?
Yes. I mean, really, and now this is that little girl, and you didn't, I remember you telling me it was a story, and I can't remember the whole story, but you were telling us something about how you were walking up a long road or something. I'm trying to remember what do you remember what I'm talking about?
If it's talking about walking up a long road, it's probably when I tried to run away and the road was really long. I'm not.
That's what it was. It was something, because I keep picturing this little girl trying to escape, trying to get away.
I do that on several occasions. But as you can imagine, I lived out in the deep, deep, deep country, so the road was a bit long.
Yeah.
So I usually tell that story just talking about how we set out on long pathways, and we don't realize that it's going to be a long stretch, and somewhere as we go along the road, we decide to change our minds, to not move forward. Now at the time, I was a child and I definitely had to turn back around. I'm just, I have no business being out here, but I do use it as a metaphor to talk about, that the road is going to be long, but just put one foot in front of the other and keep grooving. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I read the list of your books, and we know that that's just the beginning, but to think about that little girl on that road, and to look at the beautiful woman you are now, and think about how many lives you've changed, how many women you've encouraged, how many women you've encouraged, and you yourself have been encouraged by that encouragement, if you will.
Yes.
And it's like
all the time.
Cycling.
Oh my goodness, Shannon, all the time. I have women reach out to me and they say, you have no idea how much you impact me. And I'm on the other end like, me? Like, you're serious? I'm always near tears. See, I'm gonna get teary-eyed now thinking about it. I'm always near, humbled. Like, are you kidding me? It touches my heart. And I'm just blown away. I'm just like, wow, because there is no agenda, Shannon. I have no agenda but to be the mentor that I needed. I needed somebody with pom-pom saying, girl, you can do it, that, with no agenda, that just was just, I want to see you truly be all that God has designed you to be. I truly want to see you operating in your God-given gifted groove. I want to see it, because only when we do that, only when we're doing that, are we putting out all of this amazing energy that God has given us out into his beautiful world, we're touching other people, it's spilling over. One thing that you say to somebody can transition their entire world. Yeah. And I've just gotten to the point to where I want the words that I say to be of essence. I wanted to mean something. I wanted to shake something, you know, I wanted to give them something to talk about, right? If they're going to talk about it, give them something to talk about. Give it to them, right?
Yeah.
I'll do. And I do it purposefully. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible says, you know, to be, quick to hear, slow to speak, right? Be slow to speak and quick to hear. And oftentimes when people are talking to me, I'm pretty quiet, but I'm being slow to speak. I want what I say to mean something to that person. I want them to go home and think about what I said. If God gives me an opportunity to stand on a platform as a speaker, I want them to still be thinking about something that I said years from now, you know?
Yes.
Still, I want it to resonate. I do.
And I think in your ministry and what you bring to women, I think is extraordinary. And just even just the whole idea of the Groove Nation and Groove-tastic and her groove, you know, it's a catchy phrase, yes, but you give meaning and purpose to it.
Yes.
And in a way, because when I think of groove, I think of energy. I think of, you know, something that's going to pump me up and something that's going to energize me to go on. It may be hard, it may be an arduous, you know, road or circumstance, but you know what? You know how we do. You give me a good tune, you put me to it, you know, get me going.
Yes.
And I can go just a little bit further.
I was just getting ready to use that analogy. I was just getting ready to say, Shannon, when we put on our favorite groove, right, it gets you moving. And that's what your God-given gift should do. It should get you moving. It shouldn't have you stagnated at all. When we hear our favorite groove, we snapping our fingers, our shoulders get to moving, we swaying our hips, right? We might do a little dip, depending on how old we get, right? We might do a little dip. But we're moving. It speaks to motion. It speaks to action. It speaks to action. And so that's the bare essence of it. When I break it down, is it grooving? It speaks to action. You know, get grooving in what God has called you to do. Get grooving in being who you are. Yes, we've got some healing to do. Yes, we've got some things we've got to identify. Yes, we've got some things that we've got to lay aside, some things that we've got to put some things in its proper perspective. But all of that is still action.
Yes.
Right? It's still action. It's still moving forward. And that's what the whole concept of Her Groove is about. Yeah.
Oh, I think that it's absolutely incredible. And I love your energy. I love your sincerity. For wanting to connect with other women in a way that will encourage them to their better selves.
Yes.
And understand that there is something better. And I keep going back to your quote because when I read it, I mean, it's just talking about your treasure, you know, no matter how much stuff is on top of that, you know, it has the same value as when you discover it. I mean, it was there all along. It's in you. So all of those women out there that are feeling like, you know what, life just, nothing is working out for me. Nothing is going right. I can't get a husband, or, you know, my kids are this and I can't, the world is just dumping on top of me. Okay, but there still is something valuable under all of that stuff. Yes. And that would be the takeaway. And so that kind of leads us into our theme that we've had, you know, the whole first season is defining beauty, loving me. How would you define that?
Ooh, that's chunky. That is chunky. I want to do it without doing it with so many words, but defining beauty, loving me. Can I share a story that'll help define it really quickly? I was in a little small town in North Dakota. Yeah, I was. It was right outside of Canada. And my friends and I were going to take a trip toward the Canadian border. And we stopped at this little store. And inside of the store, there was this hat that said "cute inside." Now, me being an entrepreneur, the first thing I thought about was, ooh, how could I use that, right? How could I use that? Does anybody have that? Let me see if it's, you know. But it honestly spoke to me when I purchased that hat and I was taking that ride in the car. I was thinking about what those two words really meant. Cute inside, defining your beauty is defining who you are in the inside, right? So for me, I want to just say that defining beauty means that I'm staying cute inside. I'm cute outside, but I'm making sure that my inside is cute.
Yes.
That is gorgeous, that is beautiful, that my spirit is right, that I illuminate kindness, gentleness, Galatians 5:22 is 9 fruit of the spirit. Are all of those coming from me? Am I patient with people? Am I long suffering? Am I exhibiting self-control? All of these things are coming from the inside. So I would define beautiful as just making sure we stay cute inside.
I love that.
Yeah,
No, that's
making
awesome.
sure I stay cute inside. Not ugly. Not ugly.
That is awesome.
And
Okay.
you had a second part to that with loving myself, and we probably need part 2 for that one. But yeah, I think loving myself is so chock full of nuggets and gems that we could just break down, because loving myself means sometimes I have to pull away from everything and everybody, and for women we find that hard to do.
Yes.
We talk about wearing multiple hats, and sometimes we talk about that like it's this great amazing thing, but hats can get heavy. You keep stacking them on, stacking them on, stacking them on, stacking them on, right? And you just kind of weight it down with all of these different things that's going on. I don't know, if we should really put that up to the helm like we do, is that I wear multiple hats,
Yes.
it's like, I don't know. It comes a season in life where where we narrow down our priorities, our perspectives, and our passions.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
that's huge because
Yeah.
and as you were talking, the thing that kept coming to mind is how we would often brag, I'm a multitasker,
Yeah.
I do this, I do. And then it just dawned on me. I'm I'm pretty good at a lot of different things. But
Hmm.
what I realize is I'm not great at any of those things if I can't have a narrowed focus and purpose to give it the attention it deserved. And it
Yeah.
took me getting older to
Oh yeah.
understand that because I took pride in the fact that, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that.
Wow. Yeah.
And realized that my kids, they roll their eyes all the time. Whatever you do it in excellence. I don't
That's
care
right.
if you're washing the dishes,
Yes.
if you're cleaning the toilet. I don't care if you're cleaning the crevice out the corner. Do it in excellence.
Yes. Yes. You are my sister for real with that one. Do it in excellence. Yeah. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier, that you have quality, not quantity.
Yes.
Right. And I have an uncle who used to always say, you can't chase two rabbits. Not chase two rabbits. It took me a while to learn that, because you remember that commercial, I can bring home the bacon fried up in a
Yep.
pan, never let you forget you a man, right? As women, we think we can do all it, and we can in proper perspective, and
Yes.
making sure that we prioritize and that we've got things in the right lanes. And it kind of reminds me of traffic jams. We got all this traffic jam, and
Yes.
everybody's blowing a horn and everybody's trying to get somewhere, but you're really at a standstill, right? You're on your way, you're in the car, you're going somewhere, but you're stuck because all this traffic is everywhere. And the more people blow the horns, the more frustrated you get because nobody can go anywhere. And we as women, especially those of us who have multiple things going on, if we don't put everything in its proper lane of traffic, it's just going to get all jammed up,
Yes.
and then nobody is going anywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Including you, the dream, the business, whatever it is, it's not going anywhere. It's just all jammed up in
Yes.
just lanes, just all clammed up there together. Not of quality at all.
And that's maturity. And
Yes.
that's what you learn at a certain point in your life when you realize as women we're multi-talented. We have so many different gifts. And even though our moms and grandmothers didn't have all the resources that we have at hand, they knew how to sew. They knew how to cook. They knew
Oh,
how to
yes.
sell pies. They knew
Oh,
how to barter with their neighbor. Okay,
yes.
that's a business mind. You know, that's a
Absolutely.
genius mind. We look at
Oh,
the
it is.
computers and the technology and the stuff that we deal with today. It was the same intellect back
Yeah.
then.
And
You
we have no excuse. We
no.
have no excuse because we are inundated with so many different things, like you said, with the merge of technology to be able to get something done. And they were getting things done without all of those processes. And we have no excuse, you know. One thing I want to and I try to do with my girls is, you mentioned sewing and cooking and all this money that I think about from all of my aunts and people that I know who have gone on, you know, millions of dollars in the grave, millions of dollars. They were amazing chefs, amazing seamstress. I mean, they were just so crafty. They were jarring everything. They were great in the garden, growing their own stuff. And you know what I do, I was just sharing this with my husband the other day. I regret not sitting my little self still
Mm-hmm.
and gleaning. And that's one thing that I'm always forcing my daughters to do. You go glean.
Yes, yes, yes.
You are going to get
Yes,
this because it is a lost art.
it is.
It's a lost art. But I might not be the person that's sewing or the person that's doing all the different things. I can cook, Shannon. I can cook. But what I didn't do was I didn't impact a lot of that, you know, activity with my girls. Why? Because, oh, I was building this and I was building that. Mommy, can I help? No, I got it. No, I got it. Right? And I had to learn, let them.
Yeah.
Let them.
Yeah.
Let them. And I think that sometimes miss that in our generation because we are so busy that we're not allowing the next generation to glean some artful things that we could teach them. So we got to get better about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that out because that's the one element when everybody's talking about being a boss and everybody's talking about, that's why I had my girls there with me.
Yeah.
I don't think, were you there? Were you there at the first retreat? I think
I was.
okay. So you saw those tables and how everything was set up. My girls did that.
Yes, they were beautiful.
They did that. And I'm a proud mama, you know,
Yeah.
being there because I remembered watching my mom sew. And I remember watching my mom put things together and decorating with nothing.
Yes.
But when she was done,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. We say there's no food in the refrigerator and they could go there and cook a whole Sunday meal.
don't even get me started. That's another whole show. My mama
Yes,
could turn water into wine.
I believe it.
Yeah, no, but I think that's beautiful. And I think that you're definitely a beautiful example to your beautiful daughters. And I know not only are they going to follow into your footsteps, but they're going to take that legacy and it's going to keep going because of the seeds that were planted. I have no.
I receive. Speak that. Hey, I receive it.
Yes, yes, yes. And so now we're going to move into the fun part of our segment. We're going to do a little word association.
Oh, here we go.
Yes. So I'm going to say a word and you just tell me the first word that pops into your mind.
Okay.
You ready?
It's a disclaimer up front.
It'll be safe, I promise, I think. Okay. Nurse.
Career.
COVID.
Reset.
Assignment.
Kingdom.
Okay. Faith.
Did you say?
Faith.
Ooh, I had a bunch of words come. I say faith. First word, Maricia. Groove-tastic.
Okay.
Yeah, groove-tastic faith.
Intimate.
God.
Groove Nation.
My sisters.
Okay. Daughters.
Is that a word? Heart.
Caramel drop.
Censored.
Okay. And I'll put a little disclaimer. Tell us who's your caramel drop.
That is my husband, Phillip Sherman.
That way people won't be looking at us like, what in the world? They just had a moment. Okay. Dr. Sherman.
Renewed.
And the most important one, Maricia.
Happy.
Beautiful. This is always my favorite segment because you never know what you're going to get. You did awesome.
Thank you.
Tell us how we can find you. Tell us what you have going on right now. Wait, first of all, really quick, tell us where you just came from.
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, as a part of my registered nurse career, I've been helping our nation with fighting COVID. And I had an opportunity to go help at San Quentin State Prison in California. I did about 4 months inside of the prison. We went every single day to help with the impact that COVID had on the inside of the prison. And when I said, God, you're sending me to a male prison to assist it, I've been a nurse, Shannon, 20 years. It was the most rewarding 4 months of my entire 20-year career. To the institutionalized things that happen there, you don't really get until you actually are behind there. And you realize that I get to clock out and go home after my 12-hour shift, but they don't. I met inmates that had been there for 5 decades.
Wow.
5 decades, 50 years.
Wow.
Institutionalized and behind bars and rehabilitation. And just to cap on that really quickly, I asked God, don't let me go there and not get what you're sending me in here to get. And because I do get to work with women who they're free, but not free here, right? I've been there. I'm free. I'm at liberty to do everything, but I was in such a prison in my mind. I think now that when I am afforded the opportunity to minister about the liberty that the Spirit of God avails us, it will come from a different place. Because now I truly understand freedom, not having freedom. I met an inmate there who worded it so perfectly. He had been rehabilitated and he had learned about Jesus Christ. So he's now my brother in Christ. And he said to me, he said, Nurse Marie, he said, I'm freer than I ever been, even though I'm behind bars. And he was free in his mind and his spirit through Jesus Christ. And so now I really truly believe that God allowed me to have that experience. So now when I minister, I can truly understand, like Paul, and being behind bars. Although I only experienced it to a level, I got to leave, but I also got to be around it. I got to see how people felt dehumanized, how they lost so many years of life and time with loved ones and the mindsets behind all of that. So I'm still unpacking everything that he allowed me to see and share. And girl, the groove never stops. I was always in there trying to minister, trying to touch. I was always in there dropping scriptures and dropping the word. And, it was difficult to make sure that I stay in a nursing role versus my minister role, which is always very difficult. But difficult for me to do. I always want to, say, hey, God, and I have to make sure that I stay in my professional role, but I also know that I am called as his minister. That's my priority in life. So being inside of that prison and seeing, what I saw and feeling how that institutionalization works, it was incredible, but it was so rewarding. So rewarding. I have no words. That's a book, probably.
Yes. Oh, we're looking for the next one. Tell us, what else do you have going on? Tell us how we can find you, your social media, website. Give us the whole shebang.
Awesome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. Currently, I just dropped a lip gloss line by Her Groove that has all the shade names are all designed to represent Christian women. And that stems from the fact that when I would get ready to buy my girls lip glosses and lipsticks, the names would be questionable, Pop My Cherry and Drama Queen and all these different things. And I wanted to give Christian women something that they could use that would still represent who they are. Not only from that, but the power of life and death is in our tongue. So what we speak, words are important. So we don't want to put anything on us that's going to bring to not be in agreement with what we speak over ourselves.
I'm sorry.
So the lip gloss names.
Yes.
The lip gloss names are all words when you're applying it that mean something. We've got chosen and treasured and blessed and anointed, right? So even hope and faith and love. So it's just so awesome. I get testimonies from women who have purchased the shades and they say, I wasn't feeling love today, but I put my love shade on and I know that I'm loved. So it has great meaning. I had another lady shared testimony. She said, I was hopeful for a relationship that was falling apart, and I wore the shade hope every single day because I wanted to emanate hope all around me. So it has such great meaning, and Shannon is for such a great cause. We are donating percentages of the funds to help us build a women's wellness center that these women can come and they can receive therapy at no cost or low fees, because the top thing I hear in counseling is that I cannot afford the sessions and I cannot afford to come. So Her Group, our philanthropic efforts is to one day build that wellness center where women can come and receive that sessions that they need for free. And not just, we're not talking about the mental diagnosis. We want to partner with people who may have some, schizophrenia or, some different thing, bipolar. We want to be that step that's there for the person that's dealing with workplace stress, or I'm going through a divorce and I'm stressed, or I need out of a toxic relationship. We want to be able to give them those types of sessions without them feeling a financial burden. So every time someone purchases one of these glosses and sticks, it's going toward that effort.
Now,
Yeah, so we're really excited about that.
If somebody wanted to donate, where could they send a donation?
Yes, so on my website, I have two. So of course, hergroove.com would be for the purchase of the glosses, but my website, MariciaSherman.com, is my ministry website, and there is a donate button there for the ministry, for anyone who wanted to donate. It's actually categorized in three things. It's where you can purchase a gloss, you can just donate, funds to the cause and the mission. So MariciaSherman.com.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
What about your social media?
I can be found on social media all over at Maricia Sherman. Yep, at Maricia Sherman. And a lot of people misspell it, so make sure you get the I, Maricia, Maricia Sherman. Or you can definitely connect with me on Her Groove, and that's everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, wherever the groove is, that's where I'm at.
This was awesome. You are just as beautiful as you were the first day I met you. Thank you so much for joining our Hello Beautiful audience and just sharing your nuggets, sharing your wisdom, sharing your groove with
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Shannon. And I adore the Hello Beautiful platform. And I know that God is going to do such phenomenal things with it. I really do. And I appreciate you. It takes a lot of effort, to put something together with excellence and do it in excellence. So, girl, I see your groove. I do.
Thank you. And this definitely will not be the last time that we see the beautiful Dr. Maricia Sherman on Hello Beautiful platform.
Hello Beautiful.
So you take care of yourself, and I will definitely say until we meet again.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. So we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.